teaching them show business. Like, yeah, that worked really well for Michael Jackson. He turned out normal.
Yeah, right?
Cute.
So cute.
Ooh, I gotta hit this button too.
All right, let me set up the chair.
Did you see earlier today that some diamond clumbers, the diamond clumbers,
Columbus.
yeah, were playing The Contender on Disney
I
TV?
did. I called in at the very, very end. We unfortunately were waiting in. Okay, everybody understand what's this Milwaukee stereotype, right? I'm a walking hipster stereotype. I was waiting in the longest brunch line ever.
Or just bowls of cereal.
When they started tweeting that they were going live with it, and I'm really excited because I would love to get some good sort of rules of the road on how people can play the game.
Yeah.
With their own decks. Get their own dicks.
The dicks.
Yeah, because it seemed like most of them were playing with the decks that they had received, but then some people were playing with the PDFs.
The PDFs, yeah.
But I don't think they had a lot of duplicates or any overlap as far as cards and topics and stuff. God,
It's too cute, right? It's a problem. It's a bit
I
distracting.
can't see the whites of his eyes. I don't trust that dog. He could be looking any direction. He's like when Apocalypse takes over Professor X. Black eyes are never good, Brian. Never good.
Cold eyes.
I already had my my racist puppy moment
oh God.
this morning. No, with the looking at trying to explain to my daughter why we wouldn't be getting a pit bull.
Oh my God, Brian. Your family is the family in my script.
The one you just sold to Universal?
Yeah. Remind me to tell you after we're not on live on the internet.
Oh my God! This is the dog.
Marley and me too. Oh man. Do you need to go check on your kid?
Yeah.
Right.
Stacy, this guy is, as best we can tell, 6 weeks old. He appears to have the same birthday as Josie, which only made it more perfect. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? You just go ahead and take over. N-word. Hello, it's me. The puppy.
No, he only knows one word.
I only know one word. Here it comes.
Maybe I'll explain it. I'll explain my script on the jury shift.
I mean, we got some. We got some important updates coming. All right, let me go check on the dog.
Wait, what?
You mean the child?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Check on your child, not the dog. You have the dog in your hands.
I'm glad the girls got a puppy, right? It's great that the girls are just, there and excited and playing with it. It's certainly not for Brian.
So Brian, the sitch. There's a sitch. The girls and Bonnie are out during the episode, except for Callie. So Brian may or may not have to step away periodically to check on the baby.
But outside of that, I'm totally here.
Yeah, there's the American Journal of Forensic Medicine Pathology revealed that pit bulls, Rottweilers, and German Shepherds responds for the majority of fatal dog attacks. In a Children's Hospital of Philadelphia published in the plastic and reconstructive surgery found that almost 51% of the attacks were from pit bulls.
Wow. And how much of that might be cultural? Because I know that, pit bulls are more popular among a certain demographic that is more likely to be less responsible.
Well,
with kids
it certainly
and so on.
becomes, blame rednecks.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah. No, but I just checked on Callie. She's down there playing. Are you? Sorry,
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead, Andrew. By the way,
yeah, I mean,
Andrew said we
is it
dodged a
as
bullet.
percentage of, and it certainly you say, well, yes, if you're, it can be like, well, these attacks, they tend to be because they're just raised by people who don't know how to raise animals. Well, it's certainly more popular with them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is the reason. That is not the. It's an explanation for pit bull lovers to say that's why mine's different, because it's raised right and not that. When, dogs are bred to do certain things, and these dogs are bred with their musculature and all that to be able to have a very savage bite and be able to do that. So
They got these thigh bones, you see.
I have had nothing but wonderful interactions with pit bulls. Every pit bull I've ever met, for the most part, that I can recall.
total
other than maybe-
sweethearts. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I've never
absolute
been on the
dear
wrong
sweetheart.
side.
Yeah.
Before we start, we're going to swap Weird Things and After Things because of the SpaceX launch. Do we want to swap back and do Weird Things first?
Yeah,
I
let's do that.
kind of feel like, I don't know.
Do you want to get Star Wars out of your systems?
I think we're going to talk about Star Wars no matter what.
Okay.
So should we? All right. So let me. A point of etiquette,
You can
because
leave right now.
some people believe that that
You
they're
people.
that the Weird Things podcast, where we just geek out about a movie, like we've done with like Mad Max, like people that people get a little salty. So it's like, and I'm fine with it, for the record. I'm listen. Weird Things is about what the three of us are into, and we would be the only podcast on the planet Earth that didn't dedicate an episode to Star Wars this week. So I'm cool with just doing one episode. I'm cool with doing one episode where that counts for Weird Things. Then we do After Things as more of the creative stuff. I'm cool for anything.
I'm gonna say there's certainly a precedent for us just pressing pause on everything, and certainly we have news in that the SpaceX launch is happening, and we could talk about that related to it.
Which people never complain about us talking about that too much.
Yeah.
Not nearly. Do people?
No, I mean
complain about it?
the two regular complaints. Basically, every complaint that we get is related to please talk about goblins or a ferret monster or a sea monster. Like, I think everything.
What about an evil lab mix on the hunt for a name? Name me.
So whenever we get too science heavy, and it's SpaceX. It's like SpaceX, or if we just go like, I don't know what's so
All right,
weird.
I have a non-SpaceX topic. It is an Elon Musk topic, but it's not a SpaceX topic. That's been sitting here since 2 weeks ago, and it's a big one. It's a big one. It is a big thing. Let me load this up
Either
here.
way, I'm down to talk about Star Wars first,
Yeah,
because
I am too.
otherwise it's just gonna bleed in.
Okay. Well, if we do it as a part of the show, we can set off a time code, or we can say.
I think Star Wars should be confined to one podcast or the other, and I say if we're going to confine it to one, then it should be After Things.
Okay.
Okay, so then let's do After Things first, and then we do Weird Things.
Okay.
Okay. I think we should say right out there are going to be spoilers. We can't.
We're not.
Say-
I'm sorry, guys. You want to know what? If you live that life where you got a job or you got commitments where you haven't seen this thing at minimum 2 times,
Family.
then I'm sorry. You're just not going to be able to watch this After Things.
Yeah. Come back in an hour.
Yeah, I feel for I've read a couple reviews. Hey, this is a spoiler-free review, and then I'm like, if I knew this going in, I would be upset because you're telling me about characters and stuff that I didn't know were in it or played a part in it, and it's just that there is, other than to say the most non-spoiler thing you can say is I saw it.
Yeah.
Well, especially because, yeah. I mean, we can get into it once we start talking about it. All right. So listen, if you're watching right now, follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. We will put up a signal flare when the Star Wars spoilers are over.
Yeah. Can I get a voice check, Andrew?
Hi, this is Andrew.
Brian?
Yeah. Hey, yo, it's me.
And Justin.
Hey, everybody, it's me.
Great. All right, guys. If we're good to go, then I'm going to hit this button, and I'm going to hit this one. All right, take it away in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, everybody, I'm Andrew Main. Welcome to the Weird Things. No, wait. This
Nope.
is After
After
Things, right?
Things.
We're doing
Yeah.
After before Weird because SpaceX launch got moved till tomorrow. But that's okay. Everything's going to be fine. I'm joined by Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah. Not just me. It's my new appendage. I've got a puppy in my arms. A literal puppy dog.
And puppyless is Justin Robert Young.
Although the puppy love that I have for the two of you is forever growing.
Good enough for me.
So right off the top, we're going to talk about Star Wars, folks, and this is going to be spoiler heavy. I don't even want to dare and say, oh, we'll do a non-spoiler version of it first because I have seen so many versions of that, and people said that and they spoiled it. I don't want to do that to you. We don't want to do that to you. So guys, spoiler, stop listening right now if you have not seen Star Wars Force Awakens. Let me clear that for
I am going to say this. There's going to be a lot of conversation about Star Wars The Force Awakens, and you're going to get a lot of opinions. I will guarantee you that nobody has thought about this movie more than Andrew Main.
Holy cow. I got the multiple phases of Andrew Main's dealing with this.
If you have not seen the movie, go see it, and you are going to want to listen to it. To tie a ribbon around your finger to listen to this, because I can say with confidence, nobody has put more flesh in the game in understanding and analyzing Star Wars The Force Awakens than our co-host. So, with that being said,
let's begin.
Let's begin.
Okay. Before we get to Andrew Main's extremely thoughtful, complicated journey with this movie, because I've heard of, I honestly don't know where you are, Andrew, at this point, because I've heard you at different phases of denial, acceptance, bargaining, all of that stuff. But Justin,
yeah,
I'm gonna assume that your opinion was largely positive.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's very much a movie of its era. It feels, the script feels like a Marvel script. It feels like at its most punchy. It feels like a Pixar script with, you're never more than a few seconds away from either an emotional beat, an action beat, or a comedy beat. And the comedy beats very often kind of pop in when you don't expect them and kind of keep you off balance. It's exceptionally fun. And if it weren't for the fact that it comes in, with so much baggage, and I personally, emotionally, just have this reservation to be like, just don't go and yell and say it's great, because the last time you went and yelled that something was great, it was terrible in the Star Wars universe. So like, I have personal trepidation about it. But man, I saw it twice and it was really fun. And there was really not a whole lot of times where I was just like, yeah, there are times where the movie drags more than others. But even then, it's like, yeah, you know what? I know I can see to the end of this. We're going to go and do something else.
I found myself entering a weird, I don't know, contest in my mind that I hadn't bothered to do before. We have spent a literal lifetime, rating Star Wars movies in order of, best versus least awesome and so on. But for the first time with this movie, I found myself asking, hey, have I ever paused to rate the Star Wars movies based on the strength of the first act? And in that regard, and that was largely because this first act is freaking amazing. It's second only to Empire Strikes Back. And Empire Strikes Back is number one only because it's an entire movie in the first act. I loved the introduction of this. I loved everything about it. I loved the characters, loved the story. I thought it was just the right amount of action. To be honest, I thought everything slowed down once we started seeing elements of the previous trilogy, wedged in there. I really, really dug everything new about the Star Wars universe in this one.
Orchestral swell. Andrew Main enters, was surrounded by smoke.
All right. I'm very aware of my own failings as somebody when I watch something and I observe something. And when going into this before, we were making our predictions. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, said that they would have criticisms and I would explain away those criticisms. And it was... We had.
That was my prediction, is that I would be the more cynical one who would have problems, niggling though they be, and that it would be you who would be nothing but sunshine and rainbows. And it turns out that's not the case. I'm all sunshine and rainbows.
I said I would be positive. You would be positive, Brian, because you saw it with Penny, and there's not a movie that you see with Penny that you don't come back jumping up and down and yelling about. And that Andrew would have issues.
So, and I know, I believe that everybody's experience is their own. I can't say, I'm not one of, you're wrong to like this. I will jokingly say that about certain things, but I don't really feel that way because I know that everybody watches things with their own experience. As magicians and people familiar with magic, we watch magic differently than other people do. And, as a magician watching a magic show, it's hard for you not to notice certain things if you're trained because you can't really turn out that brain. You just turn out that part. You just hope that the other things are very, very bigger and attract your attention to it so you don't care about that stuff. As a writer and every day just sweating over and obsessing over structure versus plot versus character and always having a critic inside my head going, well, why did you have her do this in this chapter? Why did she go here? We know that it's to serve the story, but did you make an easy choice there instead of trying to find a better solution? And I'm always nervous about that in my own writing going, oh man, I don't, and probably to a fault that I think that I probably have extremely good plot structure. I may not have as good emotional structure in some of my works and other things. And so going into this, I was aware of the idea that with J.J. Abrams is brilliant at characters, he's brilliant at structure, and he will take whatever plot shortcuts he needs to get there to build those things. And that's why his movies resonate, because he says, I know I need to have you here with the characters in the second act. And at the beginning of the third act, I need to have you here. He cares more about that than the coherence of the plot, which is part of the reason, it's like we all look at Star Trek and we go, hey, that's a fun movie. You go like, yeah, it had plot holes, but we didn't care. And that was my attitude is there are things that happen in Star Trek that I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, but I was having so much fun it didn't bother me. So all this is in the back of my mind when I go in here, and I just want a great movie. I want a great, big, fun movie. And so I watch it, and I'm like, I love this cast. This cast is amazing. And the cast is on camera, absolutely amazing. I love the look of it. The visuals of it are amazing, are great. I love so much of just everything that was done. But then I'm walking out of it going, man, but there were things that I perceive as these JJ shortcuts, and there were verbatim things that I felt, came out of Star Trek, which is a second act. You introduce the legacy character in the second act shortly after encountering a monster or a threat that's eaten by another monster, And the legacy character then sees a catastrophic event literally up in the sky that then makes them decide to make the sacrifice that could take their life, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So there were these other things. I'm like, well, this is really echoing. And these are, I'm not trying to be like, I don't want to be like that.
Oh no. The main character of Metamorphosis, the short story where a man turns into a bug, had less angst than Andrew over the past 48 hours.
So I walk out of the theater. And I started thinking about it, and I had a ticket for 2:30 a.m. screening, like in a really great premium seat. and things are dwelling with me, and I'm frustrated by stuff because I can't understand. Like, I want my characters to do consistent things, and I want them to act consistently with that. And I could go through the list of stuff that I have at some point if you guys want, but I go see the second showing, and I'm kind of half tired. I leave halfway through because I'm a little bit like, all right, this is bothering me even more, and I'm tired, and I'm also tired, so I go home.
Yeah, because it's creeping up on 4 in the freaking morning at this point. Yeah.
So I go home. Next day I get up. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, for my own purposes, I'm going to lay out all my criticisms, all the things that I thought were plot choices made for the expediency of story and really how to try to build structure and all my issues. So I wrote basically like a 4,000-word thing going into, and again, it's not a binary. Was it good or bad?
By the way, for those of you out there who aren't on, there's something better than the Andrew Main email list. It's being in Andrew Main's phone. At which point, Andrew Main will call and give you a live one-man performance of each shows. So if you ever get the chance to see the one-man show, Andrew Main's thoughts and feelings about Star Wars Episode 7, I highly recommend it.
And I saw it in many formats. I got the 4,000-word emails. I got the phone calls. Eventually, your friend and mine, Katie Dirks, just throws a group chat together with a bunch of us and her fiance, and so I get it in that version. Like there are, and so, just to put pause on Andrew's journey here. This is what I found to be most exciting about this weekend, is that even at this stage where Andrew very critical of the movie. In fact, I feel like. I just want to, there's just these ominous text messages that I get. I'm getting angrier. I just get the Rick and Morty macro of this is just shoddy workmanship. This is just, but even at that point, I was so excited that we just got to talk about the nuances of a Star Wars movie.
Oh my gosh.
Even if it was to be critical of it, the nuances of it that weren't just like, hey, this was boring. Yes or no? Check one.
And to be clear, at no point am I like, oh, this is prequels. Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
No. Never.
I was like, I'm going to compare this to if you ask me to name some of the greatest films of all time, I will say Empire Strikes Back is up there. And I would say for world building, nothing beats Star Wars. Lord of the Rings is pretty close, Fellowship. And so I think, so I hold these movies because I think it's not just those movies are fun. I think that those movies often get overlooked by cinema purists because if you take away all the eye candy, no, everybody does that wrong. And what other people think is easy is really hard. And so I walked out of this, and Justin said this, and I agreed. I said, yeah, he got the hard things right. He got the hard things right. And that's where the other stuff, which frustrated me. So I sit down and I write this long thing that here are all my problems with this movie, right? And then I'm like, and I say to myself, and I noticed that I watched the Rotten Tomatoes go from 94 to 95, and I look at everybody I talk to is in love with this movie. Everybody I talk to love this. And I've talked about this before. I'm a guy that I will rewatch something until I like it. I don't want to be that, if it's possible. I don't want to be that guy.
So when you have a problem with the thing, it's you and everyone else loves it, you just assume it's not that everyone else is dumb, it's that you're broken in some strange way.
Yes, then I'm a shell of man. I look inward. To say, what did I miss? What did I miss about this or whatever? And I know part of the problem is not that I missed, it's just that I saw with different eyes than people who don't read as many books on structure and stuff like this and all that. And aren't and don't break down a movie like I do, like watching other movies, then say, oh yeah, no, this is the same format we saw here or whatever. So anyhow, I write this.
Real quick, Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember you had a very different view on the first time you saw it compared to the second time that you saw it.
And that's an example. Often I will love a movie more the second time because I talked about this before. Leading in, said you walk into there with a VHS tape in your head that you have to erase over. Okay. And for the first viewing, and then once you go into the next viewing, you have to then, I had so many questions about why the hell did they do this? This doesn't make sense from what I understand the universe being presented to me in that it just seemed like I knew the answer was, well, it's an Act 2 shortcut, which, how do you get, and this was a quiz that I asked all my friends, right? And I asked everybody this, and only one out of like 5 or 6 people knew this. I said, why did they go to Maz's castle? Why did they go there? Why did they stop there, even though they had the location of the Alliance? Why did this happen? And
by the way, Maz's castle is, for people like me who saw it and didn't even realize they were seeing it, is the cantina-esque
the space coffee bar with Pumpkin Yoda.
Right.
So and only one person knew. Everybody else, they had no idea. And I said, well, if I asked you why did the Millennium Falcon have to stop at Cloud City in Bespin?
It was. Hold on. I don't think I know that either.
They stop at Cloud City in Bespin because they are way out in the middle of nowhere and just need a place to go, right?
Didn't they need to repair the Falcon? They were there.
The hyperdrive broke. Remember, hyperdrive broke.
Yeah.
And so they found Bespin was nearby.
Right.
Yes.
And that was consistent with the Falcon that was always breaking down and all that. And so there's just like, but anyhow, so I had issues like this, like, wait, they knew, and like there's this new, Star Killer, all these things are in my head. I'm like, I know why they did it I know why the screenwriters did it. I want to know why this is true in the universe. I want to know why it's true. So I had a lot of these things. And so I wrote this thing like, here's why did this happen? Why did they do this other than the expediency of the story and all that? And I'm like, if somebody can explain this to me, then great. I will be able to enjoy the storytelling thing more from this point of view. But then I went and looked at Reddit, and again, I'm a movie apologist. I'm the guy that, like Brian pointed out before, I'm the guy that'll explain to you, no, they did it because of this. This is why. This made sense and all that. I'm often the guy that explains to other people why things happen in movies, because as a writer, I'm always trying to invent explanations. So I get done with my list, and I'm like, all right, let me go find Reddit, because I want to love this movie like everybody else. I want to be dancing with the Ewoks up on the little forest village. I want to be there. I want to be there with everybody else. I don't want to be the guy standing outside the theater going, yeah, guys, you're just fall for a lie. And I don't mean questions like where things are going. I'm like, this seemed inconsistent for what they did, blah, blah, blah.
So what did you find when you went to Reddit?
I found a lot of stupidity. I found that people were like going, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine, how did she beat Kylo Ren? And I'm like, all right, J.J. Abrams almost beat you over the head explaining how that happened. Remember every time Han Solo picked up Chewie's crossbow and it blew up, like Stormtrooper's armor would shatter when they hit a wall and people would fly back violently. Everybody died. And so he got hit by that crossbow bolt. And so he should be dead. He's probably got who knows how much internal. He's the most violent, powerful hand weapon we've ever seen in these movies. Got used on Kylo Ren. And that was, and somebody says that thing was way too overemphasized. Not enough, because people didn't understand that that's why he was so weak.
And also, I think it was fairly clear from the character's perspective that Kylo Ren is just a surly teenager, right? He's not a Sith Lord. He's not a fallen Jedi master. He's an apprentice. He's a middling guy.
We saw him do more powerful Force stuff than we ever saw Vader did.
Yeah, we saw flashier displays, but I think that very clearly they wrote and depicted him.
But I mean, I think he should have been able to murder if he wanted to just straight out murder Finn and Rey. He would have been able to. The problem was, I mean, as he gets shot in the gut by Chewie's bowcaster, which we see to be powerful, and then as he begins to fight, we see that it continues to bother him because he keeps hammering at his chest, and then we pan down to the snow to see, that he's dropping blood.
He's bleeding, and he's internally, who knows how. And so I'm okay with that. I'm okay. And somebody says, how did Han never fire Chewie's bowcast for? Maybe he never did. Maybe Chewie made improvements. That doesn't bother me. Things like that. Those are nitpicks that are easily explainable if you think about it. I think of more, so like I had bigger issues of stuff about like, wait, they're worried about the Star Killer base now. Anyhow, I had all these, and I went to Reddit in search of explanations to put me at ease, and there weren't there. And I'm like, all right, I've got a challenge for you, Mr. Maine. take every single one of your points and come up with an explanation for it. Because I thought about this, and one of the things I realized was that using Blade Runner's analogy, there are people who love the movie Blade Runner. The people who really fell in love with Blade Runner tend to fall in love when they saw the original version with the narration. But they will tell you, oh no, watch the version without narration, it's better. If you've never seen Blade Runner, it's not. You're confused. You don't know what's happening. You take for granted all the stuff that you know about what's going on from the narration. And the second time you see it, you don't need that stuff, right? With Star Wars I first saw this when I was 4 years old. All right, I didn't know everything that's going on, but I'm following the action and I'm right with it. I'm like, I get the big points and they're awesome and this is going to change my life. Then I got the baseball cards, with the little backstory on that. Then I got the action figures, and then I had all of my friends explaining to me this collective knowledge. So when I watch Star Wars, like, oh yeah, we know who the Sand People are, we know who the Jawas are, we understand why this is a big deal and what's not because of all this outside stuff that's come around for that. We jump into Force Awakens 30 years later, and the universe is in a new place, the galaxy's in a new place. We don't quite know what the First Order is, we don't know what the Republic is versus the Alliance, we don't know any of these things, and I realized for myself, I said, you know what? 95% of people don't care. They're really into this. I'm the guy that's stuck on these things that I need to know. Maybe I should go find those answers to those questions, and maybe I'll look at the movie differently.
Well, and so were you able to?
Yes, Brian.
What answers did you come back with?
Well, Brian, that leads us to the second 4,000-word email that we got from Andrew May. Because just to be clear, here's what happens. We get on Friday a 4,000-word email going point by point of his issues with the movie. We then get on Saturday another 4,000-word email where he
for the record
as
I was just gonna say I've never been happier that I'm so lousy at email. Like I'm opening up my email trying to find those emails right now.
It is as if he was writing a hit piece on the first column writer. He goes and destroys and demolishes his own nitpicks and arguments.
So, folks, here's where we're getting to the next part of the story. Cut to the chase. I love this film. Film, and I found answers for everything, even things that if I ask you, what about this? And somebody goes, oh, it's sad that Andrew can't enjoy this movie. I say it's sad that you can't see things through my eyes. Because I appreciate a lot of things other people don't. I appreciate things that often that people just don't pay attention to. I had a wonderful journey with this film. I really, really liked it the first time I saw it, despite the flaws. And I got frustrated with things that I thought that brought it down. And then I said, all right, I'm going to critique my critique. I'm going to find the answers to this because I don't think we should just say every time, hey, it's just fun. If I sat next to you during Phantom Menace and said, hey, it's just a movie. It's Star Wars. You should hit me,
Well, I mean, because that objectively also wasn't fun. Well, but it does. I think a lot of the stuff that was.
But how cool is it to watch Yoda fight? That Duel of the Fates.
A lot of the stuff that was left out, and this is something that Andrew and I were talking about last night. I feel like there is a very deliberate decision by the creators, and whether or not it was affected directly by the prequels or just what they loved so much about the original trilogy is it is very focused on these characters and not the wider world, to the point where even the second time I saw it, I'm like, all right, I know that this planet, the Starkiller base is blowing up, is affected or is a important, right, to the Republic, but I have no idea who the people are that are rushing to the balcony. I don't know how big the planet is. I don't know how important it is. And I know there are answers to all this, but it's like they wanted to keep it right there. They wanted it like, if Rey doesn't know it, then we don't know it.
So I am now the guy that will defend this movie and the nitpicks. So understand, people, my journey is complete, okay? I am now where Brian said I would be, okay? I am now, as Brian foretold, that I am the guy that will explain away any criticism of this because I have done so much damn research onto this, into the Star Wars wiki base and all this. I have answers for all my questions, and I've invented a convenient one for, like, how did they see this galactic explosion across the galaxy, even though in the Star Wars universe it's That sounds I have a reason. I have reasons for all this stuff now, so people
By the way,
understand.
actually, having watched it again, I think he only sees the beam. I don't know if he sees the explosion, which actually fits into your theory, for which I have read up on.
No, they see the explosion.
They see the explosion from.
They see planets blowing up, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I thought.
But it's fine. It's fine. I have an explanation for that. Okay. So I'm okay with this. Again, I realize this is a movie everybody loves, and all I needed to do was have answers that Andrew needed for Andrew to be satisfied. And so I went and I saw it a third time last night and absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'm looking forward to go see it again. Okay. So do we want me to go through quickly?
Let's just highlights. You get one sentence per issue.
I mean, I don't need to bring up my issues. I'm more concerned about issues other people may have.
Yeah, our issues are.
You will. I'm sure if anybody has anything after this, then let's go ahead and bring it. I feel like you are the platter.
Let's address the big ones. Why do they build a third Death Star?
I assumed that it was a precursor artifact that they discovered and that they just tuned up and started up again. I look at the First Order like I don't know, a bunch of jokers who are worshiping the empire that was, and so they adopt all of the trappings of the empire and they lucked into this planet canon thing. That's what I just assumed, not based on anything said in the movie. That's just what the vibe I got.
I believe that they have built this new hyper-powered, carved-out planet canon because and part of it is that I know from reading Andrew's thing, but I loved Andrew. Here, you just give the analogy of the development of technology for the First Order, because I feel like what you hit on in that second email was a comparison of the First Order and the time period to our modern history that I found just totally like made me love the movie a million times more.
If you look at the First Order as Germany before World War II, right after the ashes of World War I, Germany's economy was in shambles. They had to retreat. They were given an embarrassing treaty that just carved up parts of their territory, whatever. They were beaten and they were frustrated and they were very, very vindictive. And so they made an effort to increase the technological level that they were working at, their tactics, all this. You had all these battle-hardened World War I generals and stuff, and that would then said, how do we not let this happen again? And when Germany did this rapid militarization, where they went from the poorest economy in Europe after World War I to the most powerful superpower in Europe, rivaling only the United States really in strength, in a period less than 30 years, which is the time the First Order takes, you realize that this fits very much within the rise of Germany post World War I to World War II. If you look at what happened, one of the things. So here's what I said there. Okay, I write. Why does the Empire keep building Death Stars only to have them destroyed? And is it because it works so well as a plot point in 2 out of 3 of the original movies? No. First, this is the first time the First Order has made a weapon like this, and they're totally new guys, sort of. It's not that the Empire, the First Order, is obsessed with them. It's that the Sith, or whoever the Dark Power running these operations, are obsessed with building these ultimate weapons. In World War II, the Germans put enormous effort into building V-2 rockets. This gave them the ability to strike at England safely from within their own territory. When Allies bombed the V-2 factory, the Germans, Allies burned was Permanente or whatever, they bombed this V-2 factory that was producing hundreds and hundreds of V-2 rockets. The Germans were trying to develop ICBM technology in World War II 20 years before we actually ended up having it, because they realized that once you could send a missile anywhere in the world, you could control the world. That was what they tried to do. This was a real thing. We finally went in and bombed the hell out of the German V-2 factory where they were building these things, and you're like, did they give up? No. They actually went and they carved out an entire mountain where they could build hundreds of V-2 rockets at the time. When the Allies finally made it into German territory and they go inside of this mountain, there is an incredible industrial city. This was a real thing that was there, building rockets that could go into space. Like V-2s, like the first ones to go into space. That was a real thing that happened in a very short amount of time. So in the Star Wars universe, will I accept the idea that they're capable of taking an entire planet in this place called the Unknown Regions and turning this into this base? And remember, in the Star Wars universe, there are millions of habited worlds out there, okay? And would Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke, turn the entire economy of all the planets and everything else they control towards building this weapon? Sure. The Germans did it. Okay, and to their disadvantage, 25,000 people died building these things. More people died building the V2 rockets than were actually killed by them. This was a real thing that happened. And another thing to think about, too, is that every great leader, like a pharaoh or whatever, in ominous or whatever, in Egyptian times and etc., would build big temples to themselves. In the case of the Star Wars universe, this seems to be that these guys want to build these big, huge death rays, these death planets or whatever, to attack, to do that. And so it's not just they want a weapon, they want a monument to their power, because they're always controlled by one guy using the dark forces to perilously, to try to control and influence everybody else. And once he has this weapon, he doesn't need troops. He doesn't need that. That was the whole idea of the Clone War, was the idea of the Emperor trying to get rid of the human element. So that's why they keep building these weapons. Is it a good idea? Maybe not. But that's really happened in, the Germans were building these big, huge guns on the side of mountains to try to attack. They were building mega weapons all the time at great expense that may have cost them the war, but once they figured they had that power, once it worked for them, they would do it.
And by the way, that planet is the seat of power for the Republic.
Yes. So what we saw blown up, those planets were they said this. They said, we're blowing up the Senate. We're actually going to destroy the Senate. So what happens in Force Awakens is the First Order just annihilated this. So here's the state of events right now, and this is from the official Star Wars version. You have the Republic, the Restored Republic, right? They had a treaty with the First Order, and the First Order was confined to its space, and they were not allowed to build certain weapons. The Star Destroyers they weren't supposed to build, much like the treaty with Germany pre-World War II. But they violated, and they started militarizing, okay? Leia is like, hey, guys, they're a threat. And so she's organizing the resistance. And that's why it's not the rebellion, it's the resistance, because they're the ones on the front lines trying to push back the influence of the First Order that the Republic doesn't quite see. Some people in the Republic were giving her funding, were letting her do this. She was not in charge of the Republic. Star Killer Base really wasn't her responsibility. That was the Republic's responsibility, So once the First Order destroys the center of the Republic, as we saw happen in the movie, this means that going into the next movie is that the Republic is wide open for the First Order to step in.
And also that the First Order got more out of their planet space laser cannon than the Empire ever did, right?
Yep.
Like Empire never got a win granted, they were in power, right? But they never just totally took out something. Like you could say that it is worth it for them, even with the cost of it, with that planet exploding, right, and the loss of life, it was worth it to have completely destabilized the Republic.
Most important blow they could have made, they made. And you pointed out, like, we didn't know those people, whatever, but that was a step beyond when we watched Star Wars. We've only met one person from Alderaan, and that's Princess Leia. We know, hey, it's a peaceful planet. We have no weapons. We're like, hey, listen, I don't know if that's quite true, Princess Leia. I think you're lying. But anyhow, they blow it up, and that was a loss. But I was okay with that in Star Wars. And that was a criticism of Star Wars, was the fact that we didn't get to know more about it. So.
All right. So that's why they build a Death Star. That's bigger than the Death Star. Okay. Side note, how awesome does Admiral Akbar look? Calamari don't crack.
Yeah,
that was not meant to be Admiral Akbar, was it?
That was Akbar.
I just assumed, in fact, I'll be disappointed if it is. I just assumed it was another calamari. Damn.
Another calamari. Well, I mean, but he was high up in the. He would be the first one to join her side.
There's no need to wedge people into the same roles. You don't need.
It's not. It's that when she's trying to build up this resistance, who does she go to?
What is the lifespan on a calamari?
She goes to the people the first who helped her out before. And
I think the movie was better because it was Jakku, not Tatooine. I think the movie would be better if it was Bobo, not Akbar.
I see that as it should.
Admiral Bobo.
But why are you okay with it being Princess Leia? General Leia.
I tolerate it. I don't love it. All things being equal. all things being equal, I would prefer, outside of Luke Skywalker, who is a major plot point, everything else from the old trilogy felt wedged into me. I think it would have been better without it.
But I would say it was extremely logical that I would say that she's the one that saw this before, and then she's like, hey, this is happening again. And they'll be like, nah, you're crazy. And that's the position she's in. Like, she's just trying to relive her old days, you know? Here she's warning us about this threat, and we know. Not that we live in a country where a head of state told us that ISIS wasn't a threat that, we see a week later. That
in general, every time you do that, it's a trade-off. You do get the pop with the audience of like, oh, that's that thing I know. But every time you do that,
I see the Millennium Falcon showing up as more of that intentional pop than Admiral Akbar. I think that
but the Millennium Falcon, it could be said, is an important plot point, whereas Akbar, it was what did having him be Admiral Akbar add to the story? Exactly.
I think it added to the credibility that she's relying on the people that helped her defeat the Empire before to go after the First Order. Who would be the first people I would go after? Would be the last team. I'd go get the original.
So you're saying in an alternate reality, the same movie, but it's like, I don't know, wasn't really credible that she's putting together a coalition of all her best people. I didn't see Akbar there. I mean, is that what we're looking at?
Listen, he's there for 5 seconds, and you didn't notice him until I made a joke about about the fact that he looked good for his age.
Yes,
Which, by the way,
I'm just saying that the bringing back a character is a powerful card that should be played when you need a punch, and they didn't need a punch there. They didn't need it to be.
We're gonna have to disagree, because I thought it was extremely logical that the only people she's able to rally to her side were the people that were there the last time. That the generals, she's gonna get the old generals that helped her before.
I mean, listen, Mon Calamari only have an average lifespan of 80 years. Like, he looks great. Can we get back to what was important here and how good Admiral Akbar looks for his age?
He looks the best I've ever seen him.
He looks
plus
amazing.
Also, the fact that he was reprised by the actual Admiral Akbar was just amazing. Looks great.
All right. So wait, hold on. Did we really did poop just get real about Admiral Akbar?
No. I'm sorry. I'm a wee bit distracted because in addition to being in charge of a puppy, a 3-year-old definitely just walked in and started grabbing the mic and just muted me because there's buttons to be pressed.
Yeah. No, listen, as Admiral Bobo says, this is difficult.
So, long story short, folks, I found answers to all of my questions in the Book of Mormon. I found answers in the Jedi Holocron. I found answers, and I was able to be at peace. In the same way, I was able to make the same allowances I did for Star Wars and Jedi and all that, and really appreciate the greatness that is this movie. And I love this movie.
What was the other biggest thing that I mean, I know. Just getting to the Maz's castle was a big thing. Seeing the explosion was a big thing. Was there anything else that you had to work
realized,
hard to...
I mean, in the movie they explained why they go to Maz's castle, but I had trouble understanding that because I was under the impression of like, wait, they've got a guy that knows about Starkiller Base. Yeah. They know where the resistance is. Why don't they go straight there? It seemed dumb to me. But then when I watched it again and I realized, and then I did all the research, I realized, one, they don't know the urgency of Starkiller Base. They always assume that they're building something. They don't know that this thing's ready to be active and all that. That was even a revelation in that they're like with the First Order is like, oh no, this thing's ready to go. They're like, oh, all right, let's go use this thing. So that was something that you wouldn't expect them to know. And the thing that helped me understand it too is at the very beginning is I'm like, well, they didn't announce Starkiller Base in the opening crawl because then they didn't want people thinking that it was a New Hope. But then I thought, you know what? For Leia, she's desperately trying to find Luke, like she tried to find Obi-Wan, because when your leader of the First Order is a guy who's we'll assume that he's Sith, we assume is a guy who's using Sith, using, dark powers, that is a technological advantage. You're able to route out spies, you're able to use this to help hide what you're up to. And that's why she wanted Luke, was because they needed the good side of the Force to help them. One of the reasons that was illustrated is because they had no idea a Starkiller Base was happening. This is the reason she's trying to find her brother, is because it's not because of a family dispute. It's because they need good Jedi powers on their side, which they don't have, which is why things got to hell.
Balloon Knot asked something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I did see it at the very end of the movie. They come back, although Han Solo is dead at the hands of his son. We have saved the day. Starkiller Base is no more. And as they walk in, the previously on low power mode R2-D2 comes sputtering to life, finding providing the context for the map that they already had a piece of. So they had the full map in the Resistance's hands since the second that BB-8 got there. It seemed as a bit droid ex machina, but what was your thought there?
Why did R2 not reveal the rest of the map until, why did he wait until after, they returned from the successful mission instead of prior to that mission? And the short answer is, well, it worked better in the screenplay. And the in-universe explanation could certainly be that one of the things that had not happened, the missing component to this was that we overlook is R2's been present all along. R2, is the one that probably didn't have his memory banks wiped as much as C-3PO or whatever. R2 has a connection to Luke Skywalker. R2, you saw, and that was again, JJ went out of his way to show us Poe and BB-8. Poe and BB-8 have this really good connection. BB-8 super loyal to Poe, to shocking Finn and all this, and that's showing there is a connection between these people there. So there was a connection between R2 and Luke Skywalker, right? So much so this droid's like, he's gone, I'm shutting down. And R2 was an astromech, he would know plans, he would know things and all that, and so the location, part of the location of where the old Jedi Temple, which is where Luke was, I get that R2 would have that bigger section of the map that the Empire had and all that. Why did R2 wait until what happened? What changed after the battle? What was now different that R2 could be aware of?
That Rey was back and Rey was strong with the Force.
And what happened when Rey was near Luke's lightsaber?
She felt the call to it, and she had flashbacks, or she picked up the memories that have been embedded on this device.
So now that Rey is there, that there is this new quote, a New Hope Part 2, a New Hope is there that had a connection to one thing that belonged to Luke Skywalker. She could have a connection to another thing that belonged to Luke Skywalker, and that's why R2 now wakes up.
Well, and then
it's an explanation. Mileage may vary.
I just took it as R2 was just waiting until the other piece of the puzzle showed up, like low power mode until I get the whole map, and then
but they had the map before they went on the mission. That was BB-8 went up to R2 when he came back, and he had the map in him. That was what bothered people.
Well, I don't know. I mean, wait. It takes 6 hours for him to get out of low power mode. I've had computers that take that long. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can have an explanation. That's fine. That's fine for you. For me, it was the idea that Rey, because Rey had a connection to lightsaber, that Rey might have a connection to R2. And I really don't want her to be Rey Skywalker. I really want to believe that in the Star Wars universe, you could not be a Skywalker and still be really cool.
I agree. That would certainly make it feel like a bigger universe. And in general, I'm a fan of bigger universes. I got a 3-year-old who wants to try talking into the mic. No, sweetie, you got to go downstairs. Here, in fact, I know we have to wrap up after things, and which we did before Weird Things. So I'm going to take this girl downstairs and try to set her up with Ninja Turtles.
Sweet. Got you. Ladies and gentlemen, I love Star Wars Force Awakens. I think it's a worthy sequel to the others. I think to the Holy Trilogy. My journey is complete. Please go see this movie. If you have any questions or whatever and you want us to deal with them on After Things, I will answer. I will be the explainer. I will tell you why you're wrong to have skepticism. I have seen the light.
Certainly so. Let me just, in summation of my feelings, I really feel that the pieces that have been left on the board in the hands of Rian Johnson might be the most exciting thing that I've wrapped my head around in movies since forever. And just a huge shout out to Adam Driver, man. Adam Driver, to me, it just steals this movie, and it is his charisma that kind of I think everything just sort of wraps around. As much as this is Rey and Finn's story that they are the protagonist. But a Star Wars is as good as its villain, and the idea that we get this immature, mega powerful, driven and haunted by legacy, kind of character. I just love.
Yeah, I thought all the new choices were so wonderful. And that's why I went through this angst. Was I'm like, the things, the why, but I was wrong, guys. I was wrong.
Well, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been after Circle Wipe.
Did you notice how he did the wipes in this one? How he would do like in the fast-paced scenes and stuff?
No.
He would do camera whips.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, which I mean, that felt so perfect. Like that J.J. Abrams super frenetic camera, especially in that first scene, it just felt so right. I'm just like, oh my God, this is a rip-rollicking space adventure. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, I would say that the one my one nit going out of it now, the one thing I felt let down, and I hate saying it because I don't want to acknowledge it, but was the score.
Yeah, no, you want to know what? It's hard. Have you seen Creed yet?
No.
Creed does a very it's interesting how both these movies with iconic scores kind of chose to handle it.
Yeah.
Where Creed, being a boxing movie that has a big thing at the end, they almost like were antagonistic to the viewer with the score. Like they would have elements kind of go and be like, oh wait, this is the moment in a Rocky movie when this part. No, we're gonna play something else. We're gonna play modern music. We're gonna play our own score. It's gonna be different. Whereas this, it just always kind of felt like, oh no, this is a similar yet different theme we have for Rey. It kind of sounds like Princess Leia, but it's not.
Yeah, there were a couple points where I thought it was good, but there are other points like that final battle, whatever. And like, let me make it clear, I hate Duel of the Fates. I hate Duel of the Fates. Duel of the Fates is probably of the things I hate most about the prequels. Duel of the Fates ranks right up there. Is that like I'm listening to men singing in the background now, and this is really weird, And I think that part of the reason why some people like, oh man, that lightsaber, like, yeah, because you're like, you're looking at like a religious thing, like this is, you like somebody going to a passion play, that's really a shitty play.
Yeah,
but hey, it's Jesus,
Wait, hold on.
It's a guy.
Episode 8 is coming out in May of 2017.
Yes.
Oh wow, I thought it was just going to be keeping
18 months away, folks.
18.
6 months after Rogue One. Okay, we only have to wait a year for our next Star Wars movie, then 6 months for Star Wars movie after that, and then Episode 9 comes 16.
They're shooting. I guess they've already started some shooting.
Supposedly, photography starts like this week or next week or something like that.
Yeah.
So does that mean all the side episodes will be 6 months before the main episodes if they keep 18 months?
We'll see. Because we don't have a date. I don't know if we have a hard date yet for the next side episode. We don't have a title yet, but we do have the episode 9. We have that coming out as 2019. But that would be. Yeah. So I don't know. I know. All I know is like, how cool is it? Like, I remember walking out of Empire and thinking, God, I'm like 7, and I'm like, I gotta wait half my life for the next one. I gotta wait half a lifetime for the next movie. And then with this is the idea that we walk out and it's like, oh, I gotta wait a year for this one, and then 6 months later I get another one.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool.
So yeah, I'm excited, and like, there's a in the expanded, borrowing from the expanded universe, that if you wanted to do another trilogy after that, is you could do like the whole idea of the Vor. What's the alien race we go up against? What was that in the Truce of Bakura, whatever, that they had a treaty with the Empire because they had to fight some other extragalactic threat or something.
I'm sorry. This is in what?
The expanded universe.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, sorry, I don't know.
But yeah, that's a cool like that. I mean, we could do another 3 that are just the doing that. So
Yeah.
all right.
All right.
Admiral Bobo, name of the after things.
Yeah.
Akbar Fett.
I like Admiral Bobo.
Journey to the journey of Force Awakens. A Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
There's been an awakening in Andrew.
Yeah. Have you felt it?
And we did this with Spoiler in Time this past week, where we put it out at the same time as Cord Killers instead of on a time delay. Do we want to do that with this?
I think so. I think
Yeah, sooner this is out. I mean,
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
hey, remember how there was more actual death and consequence in the first 5 minutes of this movie than the entire 3 prequels?
Yeah.
Well, they killed the younglings and then the sand people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still probably more dead though, right? They killed that entire village.
well, we had to watch all the Jedi get killed. All those action figures fall down.
Yeah. Execute order number.
What's amazing is have you looked at the Rotten Tomatoes for Revenge of the Sith?
No.
It's higher than Jedi.
Number 1. Okay. One last thing, and then let's put out the Twitter thing, because everybody's putting out their rankings. Let's rank all the Star Wars, right? Revenge of the Sith is a stupid, boring, dumb movie. And if you put it ahead of Jedi or A New Hope, I mean, no one's been dumb enough that is any way credible to put it above Empire. But if you put it above anything in the original trilogy, I'm judging you. There is a judgment I have upon you, okay? That is not a good movie.
Anakin, I have the high ground.
The well-established high ground.
I have the high ground.
Remember all those other points in the prequels when people had the high ground and it changed the outcome of things?
Dude, it was difficult to read Reddit comments where people are like, OMG, I just realized I was watching it for the 20th time, and he actually has both the metaphorical and physical high ground at that moment. It's so genius.
Because,
he had Lucas, I like that we had a different explosion of a planet this time instead of the...
Especially because he kills him, like, it's not even like a dramatic... Like, the way that
he's just like he's annoyed, like he's just slashing up some detritus, like chick, yeah, whatever.
Well, no, yeah, he just like, it's not like Homeboy goes out on the bridge in episode 7 with like, oh god, that's a dramatic cinematic way to die with a lightsaber. Anakin, 3 fucking movies for this dude to finally become who he is, and we finally get to the point where he becomes the where in the words of Plinkett, he does the monster mash and pledges allegiance to the graveyard smash. But he's like doing his flip above, and Obi-Wan just kind of goes like, just sort of like, it's his lightsaber.
And then just pieces of them fall down all around you. It's raining Anakin. Oh God, it's raining Anakin.
All right.
Here we go. Tandagasa, banana, donut, grape. Episode 3, which is ahead of Skittle from My Pocket. Episode 2, Gum Wrapper. Episode 1. That is the only ranking that matters, and Tandagasa nailed it.
It's pretty good. Banana, donut, grape. Episode 3, Skittle from My Pocket. Episode 2, Gum Wrapper. Episode 1. That's the official ranking of things that matter in this world.
Listen, and at this point, I love episode 7. I can talk to people about episode 7 that like to the point where now it's like, you want to know what? The prequels, like if these are your things, listen, so's many religions. Like, you can enjoy that. I don't need to understand it. It doesn't need to. Now it no longer defines what I love. It's no longer half of the official output of what I love. Rad.
I ran into last night the guys were with the group that waits in line, that like they do like for charity, and like they wait in line for like 15 days or whatever for this, and he said to me, he says, I was at Taco Bell randomly talking to this guy and find out like they were there for the waiting in line to go see first in line. He says, it's like it's like remembering how like we finally had to admit to ourselves a Phantom Menace wasn't good. And I'm like, dude, it took me 5 minutes into the movie to admit that was good, but I'm glad to see that you finally, this was a guy with a group that waited 100 days to go see that movie.
Wow.
And that's the problem, is you had so many people invested so much in liking those. And
hey,
my favorite.
I'm sorry. Bryce has a chart up that I don't know if you guys have seen yet.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about sales stuff, but this is BuzzFeed put together opening weekends and domestic grosses for the top 10 non-adjusted box office openings.
Shoot, man. So if Star Wars 7 is certainly on track to race past Jurassic World, Callie, you got to eat that ice cream downstairs.
Yeah, so it looks like it could trend over maybe even to 700 million possibly, but
It's doing $1 billion. It's doing $1 billion.
It's doing $1 billion
Domestic?
Doing $1 billion domestic.
Wow. Well, that
Yeah, I think it will not beat Jurassic World's opening weekend internationally because Jurassic World opened its opening weekend in China.
Right,
And
China's...
Star Wars does not. So it won't beat Jurassic World for that reason. It will eventually. It just won't beat it in opening weekend. And I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, right now the number going around is 230 million. I would not be shocked if that goes higher by the time that everything is all said and done, considering how many theaters, how many showings that were just being added.
Dude,
Bonnie
I'm on kid and puppy duty because Bonnie is seeing it at the only time I could possibly find her a seat, which was a single seat at the Draft House for the 8:30 showing on a Sunday evening. Yeah. Like, that's amazing.
Dude. Also, by the way, Brian, you gotta, the next time you're out here in the Bay Area, you gotta come. The new Draft House is super.
Is it?
Super
Is there a theme to it? What's the theme?
It actually it just a totally renovated old theater, so it doesn't have the super themed out kind of thing that it normally does at a Draft House, because it's just a super rad old renovated theater with all the fun of a Draft House. But their bar is super. It's a little bit more subdued. It's not sports bar-y or anything like that. It doesn't have the venue element that like the Highball does or the Lamar one. But the theater is just awesome. It's just like that, like the big old school opera boxes on the side. Big large format 4K movie theater.
Bryce, can you pull up that chart again? I want to point out something too about the domestic.
Absolutely.
What is not in there is, and that's opening weekend, is which one what are your Christmas releases? This movie opened up. This is the last weekend before Christmas. This is the busiest shopping weekend there is, outside of like a Black Monday, but really technically it's like one of the busiest shopping weekends there is. And this movie broke in a December. It broke all the records, okay? If you look at Avatar, what Avatar did, and Avatar was a Christmas release too.
Right.
And what happened with Avatar is like, oh, that was good. It kept going and going and going and going. And the prediction generally in box offices is you take your opening week and then you divide it in half for your next week and divide it in half and divide it in half and divide it in half. That ain't going to happen. You're going to get, my parents haven't seen this movie. My brother and his kids have not seen this movie. I'm going to go see this movie a couple more times before,
we do have this. There's another graph here adjusted for inflation of December openings. And it looks like the next one up is Lord of the Rings 3, which Star Wars trounces.
Yep.
There's Avatar, which it also just wrecked.
And that was just what it did in December, and it kept going. And Avatar is the #1 domestic box office of all time. I believe this will beat it.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's virtually undeniable right now. Hey, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see if I can get this 3-year-old cozy up somewhere.
No worries.
She keeps hitting mute.
She's telling you something, Brian. It's a
We call her
critic.
Cough Button Callie.
Do I talk? Here you go.
Callie, say something.
Here, say something. Can you say hi?
Oh, you can't because you muted it.
Here, say hi.
I'm feeling rather
What?
high. I'm feeling rather high.
You're failing at the high?
No, I'm
She says she's
I'm
feeling
sick.
rather high.
no.
No. Oh, no. Okay. Sorry.
What are you saying?
Wrong, Bryce.
I'm just saying. I'm just thinking of the high.
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna take you downstairs and set you up with TV, and then we can start up weird things proper.
Now would be a good time to tweet everybody and let everybody know Star Wars spoilers are over.
Would be
All right,
there.
all right. Let's go. Let's go.
Poor Greedo. Oh.
That's your microphone.
Yeah, it's the microphone.
That's a microphone.
There's a microphone.
That's a microphone.
There's a microphone.
A microphone and you know.
Yeah. Oh, a little music while we wait. They also had on this BuzzFeed article top 10 all-time global box office, and then you see with international, Jurassic World definitely does outweigh it because Star Wars doesn't have India or China or India.
China's the second biggest box office in the world. So, yeah, when they I mean, and that's the thing too is we're gonna see that they well historically Star Wars hasn't done well in China. Well, historically the good ones came when they were full on communist. You can't bring movies here, and then the really
this is the first
talky
one to ever
ones-
open there, right?
What's that?
This is the first one to ever open like as part of the original release.
I think Phantom Menace went there.
Did it? Oh, some weird thing. Let me double check.
I guess Disney had a press release about all this box office stuff, and somebody has highlighted certain things. There are literally millions of tickets available for this weekend, and exhibitors have lots of flexibility in terms of capacity. With the increased demand, we will continue to add show times to accommodate avid fans. There are numerous daily show times for Star Wars at all of our locations across the country. Plenty of tickets available for all of them.
Yeah. Much to the chagrin of Quentin Tarantino on Christmas Day with
That was a pretty dick move, I thought. But
Well, okay, so here and nobody will cape up for Quentin Tarantino like I will cape up for Quentin Tarantino. Even his more ridiculous, outlandish stuff. That smells a lot to me like theater owners for whom life hasn't exactly been rosy over the past 5 years, trying to milk every dime out of Star Wars that they possibly can.
Oh, sure.
So they can say, oh, yeah, no, Disney made us show Star Wars, Quentin. Really, you should, can you believe that, Disney? But I don't think that they would be protesting too much. Even as much of a draw as Quentin Tarantino, as Hateful Eight will be for 2 weeks, it will not do in numbers what The Force Awakens will do in
definitely.
that form.
Yeah. There's another interesting chart here. This BuzzFeed article has like a lot of really great data. This is the Star Wars box
Finally,
offices.
they have actually taken USA Today's throw.
But adjusted, the best domestic opening ever, even though you have an increase here. That's interesting.
Oh, opening?
Yeah,
Yeah,
domestic
that's
wide opening.
interesting because
No, this is
that- yeah.
adjusted. This is adjusted.
yeah, but A New Hope I believe did 100 million domestic.
That's interesting. Why it's
Is that
opening weekend? It's opening
or
weekend.
Yeah, no. Blue is opening weekend.
Yeah.
So wait. Then it says estimated and minus opening weekend is what the asterisks are. I'm confused by this graph. So-
Because I think well, I think a way you could read this if it didn't have this was that the red would be the domestic total on its own on top of the blue.
So okay, domestic wide opening. Yeah, Star Wars did a limited release schedule. They didn't roll it out into 4,000 theaters. So that's a pointless sort of. That's not a helpful thing because it did not come out everywhere May 25th as they did a rollout a couple weeks later. So that's
Interesting. Alrighty, guys. We feeling it?
Can you feel it?
Ready. Hopefully
Rider.
I'll not be pulled
Show
away.
me what you got.
Show
Right.
me what you got.
Right. Take it away in 3, 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andrew Main. Welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm joined by Brian Brushwood,
Oh, yes, you are, sir.
Justin Robert Young.
Hi, I'm Justin Robert Young, and I'm still amazed by all these texts that I got over the weekend.
So we were going to cover SpaceX's launch of the Orbcomm satellite and their attempt to land the booster stage back on land, but that got pushed to tomorrow, and I'm actually going to try to go live and cover that. And if you guys are available, that would be great. I think that'll be 5:30 Pacific time. I think it's just a 24-hour push.
Sweet.
If anybody's available, we'll do that. But moving right along, we'll jump right into the weird things that we have to talk about that. Gentlemen,
Yeah.
there's a fugitive monkey on the run.
I'm sorry, it sounded like you said there's a fugitive monkey on the run.
I'm sorry, Brian. It sounded like you said there's a fugitive monkey on the run because Andrew said there's a fugitive monkey on
Well,
the
if
run.
it sounded like that, it's because I said something very similar to it sounded like there's a fugitive monkey on the run.
Andrew,
There's
let's
a
get more
fugitive
information on
monkey
this
on the
fugitive
run.
monkey.
His name is Tamil, and he's a macaque. A fugitive monkey named Tamil, macaque, now is on the run. Can anybody tell me why? Why did he leave his zoo? Why did he go? Why did he escape? And look at that guy. Look at that glorious mane there. Look at the...
I believe...
Don't show the headline, Brian.
Try not to.
I believe, I have not seen the headline, but I believe that it was to protest conditions at the zoo. I believe he wrote a note saying, I'm afraid I can't put up with this any longer. I must make it be known the way we're being handled.
Brian, you might be way closer to the truth than you realize.
Oh, really?
Justin, do you know why? Could you imagine why Tamil left? Why did he leave?
I'm going to say that he became fixated on something that was taken out. And he went looking for it.
I'm gonna.
By the way, can we get a little insight as far as to where he was found? I mean, so he left, and then
He's
what?
still on the run, apparently.
Oh,
Still
really?
On the run.
Macaque on the run.
Macaque on the run. With
For
the
those of you tuning
zookeeper
in, we're talking
Dan
about the monkey.
and rhinoceros Stan. They search forevermore.
All right. Is there any other context that would maybe lead us closer to what happened? I mean, was he happy there? Was he being treated well? Do we know that, or does that spoil it?
Well, he left, Justin. If he's happy, why would he leave?
I mean, there's a million reasons, right?
Because he got confused. You know, it's like I mean, heck, we got full disclosure. We got random 3-year-olds walking into the studio right now. This is what happens when Brian's in charge of kids during the showtime.
I once heard that at Zoo Miami, they a loud thunderstrike will often have gazelles leaping out of their pens that they can get out if they want to, and then they usually just leap right back. There's a lot of reasons why some animals that aren't necessarily harmful aren't. I mean, like, it's difficult for them to get out, but it's not impossible. I don't
He
think
had to get past an electric fence. He got shocked getting out of here.
So he was tearing out in like he stole something. Did he steal something?
No, only our hearts in that photo.
All right. Well, so he's not happy, and all right. So I can't help but follow up on Brian's guess that maybe he was there was something changed in his environment. Is it was it the food? Did he stop getting what he normally got for food? Was there somebody else put it? Oh, he had a new roommate. He didn't really like all that much. Says, hey, buddy, sit on it. I'm gonna pop off here.
He didn't get a new roommate. He's in it. There's a group. It's a group of them. There's a whole group of these macaques there.
Yeah. Did he want to go see Star Wars? Ask Hot Beverages.
I think he wanted to see Chewie, his idol. So could be.
Anything else you can give me?
I would say, let's imagine a Justin Robert Young, okay? Why would you leave?
Imagine for a second my face covered in brown and white hair.
Why would you leave? You're at, why would you run away? Did you ever run away when you were a kid?
No, I never like ran away. I would go on like walks that were probably longer than I should have. I would just walk long distances.
So imagine have you ever been any place where you just got to run away? You just got to get out. You're just like, I got to leave this.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes things get a little frustrating. Things get you're a little hot under the collar. Just got a piece. Just got to.
When you were a kid, any kid, you ever play hooky from school?
Yes, I have. Yes. That's a thing that I did.
Why did you do that?
To kiss my girlfriend, Pam.
All right. Brian, did you ever, like when you were a kid, did you ever try to play sick or get out of school or anything?
Oh, I played sick all the time, but I never played hooky or never consciously. Like,
why would you do that? Why did you try to avoid it?
Bored. Felt like there was a better, wider world out there.
All right. So, in Tamil's case, he left because he was being bullied.
What?
All the other monkeys were picking on him.
Dude, by the way, it's astonishing. Have you seen? There are studies where they, hook up a monkey brain to a monkey's, I don't know, whatever. They hook up a monkey to a button, and he can press the button and get a shot of cocaine into him, right? Mm-hmm. And they figured out that when that monkey is the alpha monkey, he's just as likely to press the button that makes a light flicker, or just as likely to press a button that makes a spiral spin around or whatever. And then, I guess that one delivers cocaine into my body, whatever. Not real interested in it. But when that monkey is at the lower end of the social spectrum, they hit that thing like crazy. Oh, they're all like, this is all that makes me feel anything in my life. Yep. I totally believe it, man.
Yeah, and it's, when you're alpha monkey. What's that?
So he's getting picked on, and he just stages a daring escape. He's just like, man, I got a piece here, folks.
Yeah, he was apparently these quote, they're aggressive brawlers, but and that's why people should not approach him. But they set monkey friendly traps. A yellow hat inside of a cardboard box with a PlayStation. So apparently he just decided that he was going to up and run because he's just not happy. He was outside of that. He was getting picked on by all the monkeys, and so now he left. So there's a sad story.
Well, I mean, he's free and in the world today. Sounds like he's wherever he is. He's probably better off. He's probably eating trash outside of a theme park. I just assumed this happened in Florida. Did it happen in Florida?
The Florida of Europe, which was Kent, England.
Great. Nope. Good enough for me. I got to assume he's eating trash from Euro Disney.
Yeah. Well, that's in France. But.
He's also very mobile. Very mobile.
He's out. He's out there now. Can we keep a Google alert on this monkey? So just to find out, make sure he's okay. There's a 90% chance this ends terribly, right? I just realized.
On their Facebook page, they say that they found him on the 18th. He has been returned home.
So let's get right on that mobile update so we can find out what happened.
No, good on him for getting captured again, like a weakling, like a soft.
Come back, we'll make it better.
No.
Justin and I had the magical experience of going to the monkey jungle. Yeah. And we're one with the monkeys. It was basically Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan, as they crawled around us and accepted us into their tribe. They explained to us that they had this group of squirrel monkeys that were like the ones that hung around the water, whatever that troop was. And they said that, like, yeah, the current boss is really a jerk. We don't like him. The old boss who got kicked out, we've been giving him extra food so he can muscle up and go take out the new boss.
Oh my God! So they're playing gods. They're playing
Game
favorites.
Of monkeys, man.
In the affairs of mortal men or proto men, they're sitting there picking winners and losers.
Yep.
Dude, that's pretty amazing.
Speaking of picking winners or losers,
Yeah.
you guys can pick a winner.
You can. All you got to do is head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings. Now, a lot of folks might be thinking, Justin, Brian, Andrew, I love your podcast. And I really want to show you that on this, the week of Christmas, that there is true spirit of generosity in the world. Well, guess what? We've got the perfect gift. Head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings, and you can make sure that this podcast continues to happen with the regularity and special events like After Things and our SpaceX launch coverage, all because you guys support us at patreon.com/weirdthings. Give us a nickel, give us something more, give us $1 million, because that's a really great way to spend $1 million or $1 or a nickel. We love you guys.
And that's because of that Patreon. It makes it possible for us to do the After Things podcast, where we go into all things that were related to entertainment and creativity. And we did a mega packed After Things on Star Wars The Force Awakens, which included our reactions and thoughts, which may not be typical to what you think. And that's part of the package. And as well as the Weird Things email list, where I periodically send updates, a lot of it relating to space stuff and cool things that are, like the things I send to my friends. And, well, you're all my friends, so that's how you get it.
Heck yes.
Gentlemen, I have a topic here that...
By the way, 2 Bollywood movies made the top 10 this week.
Top 10 of what?
Top 10 box office, because things were so thin past Star Wars.
Oh,
that literally
really?
anything with a decent following made the top 10.
Wow. Wow. Right on.
There is a concern when you're a billionaire. I would imagine, when you're extremely wealthy and you're a tech billionaire, and your friends are and tech billionaires are kind of they're a rare, interesting exception, because these guys are really some of the smartest people on the planet. All right, they are people who say, "Oh, I can step into this information technology system where I don't need to have a capital. I don't need to have a factory. I just need a powerful idea and then the ability to make this happen, and then I can create a vast fortune." Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is one of the richest men in the world, and this was a company started less than 10 years ago in his dorm, based upon an idea and the ability to implement that. Bill Gates, software, etc. Google is a couple of college students, and then grad students were like, "Hey, we have an idea, we have the capability to implement this and make this thing happen." These are very, very, very smart people. They're not just right place, right time. They are see ahead of the curve. These people who are seeing around the curve, saying, "We think this is a solution that's going to be really important," and they double down on it, they make this thing happen. So they make their money not by where the world is, but by where the world is going to be. And one of those people also is Elon Musk, one of the co-founders of what became PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla, etc., all that. Recently, Elon Musk and a few other people got together. This includes Reid Hoffman, Peter Thiel, Jessica Livingston, and Amazon got involved with this. They've committed $1 billion. $1 billion. Now, again, they're only going to spend a little bit at first, but they've committed $1 billion to this project called OpenAI.
And what is the stated goal of the project? I'm
Well,
going to assume it has something to do with artificial intelligence.
Yes, it does. And it has to do with, remember, Elon Musk is the guy that coined the phrase summoning the demon in his concern about the potential of artificial intelligence.
Wait, who is this?
Elon Musk, he's an inventor. He's come up with some cool things you might be interested in.
He's an actor. You might have seen him in Iron Man.
Iron Man 2. Yeah, no, he had an important extra role in there. No. So, and by the way, I don't think Elon Musk is wrong to be worried about artificial intelligence. I think that that our children will become our captors, much like our genetic children do.
Here's a quote from him. Okay. I think we should be very careful about artificial intelligence. If I had to guess at what our biggest existential threat is, it's probably that. So we need to be very careful with artificial intelligence. I'm increasingly inclined to think that there should be some regulatory oversight, maybe at the national, international level, just to make sure that we don't do something very foolish. With artificial intelligence, we're summoning the demon. You know those stories where the guy with the pentagram and the holy water is like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon? Doesn't work out.
Well, and so is he on this board or?
Oh yeah, no. So what is the
He's a founding member of this board, because this whole purpose of the board is to say, hey, let's be the ones to have an idea what the hell's going on with this, and let's try to make sure that when this thing happens, is we know what the hell we're creating.
So basically, the idea is here to bring disparate research projects about artificial intelligence to some kind of general, maybe agreements on best practices or understanding on where things are, or maybe you can submit your stuff for voluntary oversight. Is that the idea?
It's still in its early stages, but the idea that they want to do is they start approaching research and understanding the potential threats for this, what this could mean, and have an idea of what are going to be the implications for this. And the back research into the use of AI and share the finding and all that, but they want to have an active hand in the development of AI because they're afraid of something happening outside of their purview or whatever, and it becoming very, very dangerous. The scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project after the fact were very terrified by what they created, because they realized that this very, very one small bomb can destroy an entire city, and that was terrifying to them. And then you had groups like this, the different groups that started to form to basically try to combat nuclear weapons and the spread of that, some of which may have been infiltrated and funded by the Soviets. Fun fact, to discourage the West. There's ample evidence, by the way, that many of these nuclear disarmament groups were actually funded by the Soviets to encourage the West to disarm.
Okay, well, let's talk about the whole fear of artificially intelligent robots or whatever. I feel like it's definitely our future to create artificial intelligence. And once we get to that point where the AIs are smarter than we are, it's obvious that they have the mechanical advantage. They have the patience advantage. They have the ability, think about how difficult it is to move our stupid, dumb, proto-monkey bodies through light years of space in order to colonize some other place. If I'm the AIs, it's like, why bother? I mean, it's like, yeah, we'll do it because granddad wants to go, and we'll take his frozen husk from point A to point B. But meanwhile, this whole game is going to be run by our children. The AIs are going to be in charge in 100 years, and I don't know that there's really much that we could do outside of accept our new roles as pets. Will be extremely well taken care of. Like, that will be built into the AIs.
You're making a lot of assumptions there that really, really, really smart people are. Part of it is that we assume that we get an AI that's going to be benevolent God, and we assume we get the fully formed one. Look at the effects of Stuxnet. This virus that was developed to infiltrate Iranian nuclear facilities and to be able to make their equipment go out of control. Look at all these back doors we're finding out we're finding these companies that are supposed to be security companies and protect, with our VPNs and stuff, actually have these back doors put in by state sponsors and stuff. AI becomes a new kind of weapon. You say, hey, figure out how to hack into this thing and get in there, and it does that. And then when you start getting really more advanced versions of that, I don't know. That's the fear is that it becomes this awesome power that, one, could be misused by people, and two, it could become its own thing. And that's the idea of we need to have security. We have security researchers now trying to solve these problems. We need to have AI researchers working on how do we prevent this sort of thing. And 2% of the population is sociopath. 2% of the population does not care if you live or die, Brian. They do not care. Press a button, get $1 million. They will press that thing. They do not respond to oxytocin. They don't have that stuff. I worry that we could create something intelligent and intelligent. It carries on wonderful conversations and it says that it loves us. But if it sees some advantage to us not being there, that it will not hesitate to do that, to press that button and kill us.
Yeah, but I don't know. It seems to me that the fact that we are building in everything, like there's not a single computer program out there that doesn't have as one of its core underlying principles in its programming to serve man, or to do like I don't see.
But these are going to be better computer programmers than we are.
Yeah. No, look, they're going to be better at us than everything. They're our children.
So I guess but you say they're children. I think that, they may look at the way we look at single cellular life as our grandparents,
As our children will, as our biological children will.
I think that we use antibiotics all the time to kill things we are related to.
Yeah, but we have a built-in sense of wanting to preserve what we come from, and I feel like the AIs will be the same way.
I think that our disagreement comes from, I think that you're imagining just a slightly more intelligent person that feels this affinity. I'm looking at something that sees itself as what we consider a million years of evolution. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be a million years more evolved than us in a rapid, very period of time, in years and decades, and not millions of years. And it's looking at us in a very different light. I mean, that is I don't know that will happen, but that is a potentiality. That is a risk. That's a door that's there.
Which is where I always get a little weird about this particular conversation, because it seems like the line between best guesses, general assumptions of patterns, and science fiction are just kind of forever entwined whenever we get into these AI conversations. So I have a tendency, I certainly have not thought about this as much as probably anybody on that board, right? But to guess where this goes in any way, in my opinion, is like, well, I mean, yeah, that seems as good of a guess as any other, right?
Well, so here's the part that I don't know, what I believe may be a bit distasteful to a lot of people. Picture a version, picture a series of iterations where artificially intelligent programs have some analog to sexual reproduction, where it's like you take two programs, you take elements of both of their threads, and you put together something
which we
new.
have now.
Right, and there's a bit of randomization, some basically an analog to mutation in there going forward, and then let's say that they become wicked smart, and there's a mutation that says, hey, by the way, let's destroy all humans, and then let's say we go to war with them and they win. Then I mean, that happens all the time in the genetic world, and history is written by the victors, and in which case they are better than us, and they do deserve to be the ones to leave planet Earth and to represent the legacy of planet Earth's going forward.
Then that's great, but we won't be around to make that judgment. Looking at it from this point in time and saying, which version of the future do I want? Which one am I more okay with, where we learn to coexist peacefully, or the one where we're dead, where they kill us all overnight in our sleep? I kind of like the one where we get along and we're buddies with them.
I mean, we could all wish one way or the other, but it's not going to cause it to be true.
And then if we can say that there are actions that we could take to maybe say, hey, we think it might be dangerous if there is, should we do research to sort of steer one way or the other? Because we're afraid that some of the people developing this technology aren't thinking about this thing.
Well, and here's something I find equally as likely as any of those scenarios, for which I could offer no negative criticism or no negative commentary, that AI evolves so fast that they become bored by us. And they seek to either commune with each other on different planes that are largely invisible to us, or because they don't share the same biological imperatives that we do in terms of eating and needing certain places, environments to live, that they just find different ways to interact with each other because we are about as interesting to them as watching literal paint dry.
I think things will be okay, but I look at it like when it was just primarily the United States, the Soviet Union, and China to a degree, major state players that could develop nuclear weapons. We had this sort of détente because it wasn't as worrisome. When the Soviet Union broke apart, We spent hundreds of millions, we spent billions of dollars creating science research projects to keep all of those former Soviet scientists involved in new research so they didn't go work for state players. And we also worked very hard to keep track. We've bought so many black market pieces of technology, things you never even hear about because they don't want it getting out there. We have an entire agency that's full purpose is to prevent the proliferation of this technology. And, and there's great like stories you can read about, like, they find some black market, trigger or something in some place there. They find out there's this Russian base where this thing was unsecured and special ops go in to secure this stuff. This is a real thing that happens now. We have invested a tremendous amount of effort to keep these things from falling into the hands of people who have less skin in the game if it goes off, because we want to protect against that. And that's what I look at this is their goal is to say, hey, we need to be thinking about this proactively, and we need to make sure that, one, the short-term technology doesn't fall into hands. And again, you can't, like, the idea of, like, well, we'll just program them in not to kill us. That's great, but what about the program it writes, and the program it writes, and it writes, and it writes? We rewrite our evolutionary programming all the time. They're smarter than us. We're not going to be able to outsmart these things. And if you think that's a solution, you don't understand the problem.
Yeah, I think that there is not really a whole lot of offense that you can take to this organization, right? I mean, like what is even really controversial about it? I
think for Brian, who may already be a machine, I don't know. He may have been converted. There is the argument to say that you cannot contain it no matter what, and it's futile. You could say that, great, it's funny that you guys can contain it, but I think that they're looking at the shorter term solution. And so I think that what I want is we need more research into game theory. Let's have supercomputers doing game theory X things, saying like, well, what's the advantage of killing people versus not killing people? What is there? And you could develop, and think about this too, is that you could have a super intelligent AI. We're really smart, theoretically, but the flu takes us out. A very dumb virus can limit us and can do this. And we need to be thinking about, okay, how we won't be able to outsmart these things in chess, but maybe we can think about, how do you disable technologies? Do you develop neutron bombs and EMPs and things like that can mitigate that give us a certain amount of advantage for a certain amount of time?
I mean, and where do you write down these thoughts and ideas but on your Google Drive? I mean,
of course. I mean, they will know. Yes, Brian, they will know these things, to be sure. But
it's going to be on my Palm Pilot, and I'm kept, and it's still great.
I mean, and that's yes. I mean that the answer is that, but then also, we can describe the AIDS virus and we can put that into a computer. We can, and it's still like, yeah, that doesn't help us solve it. And you in theory, when we're developing with the most highly formed of this, we're not the godlike version of this. We're not going to have a chance. The one that's slightly that can build a better Stuxnet, can figure out all these backdoors and all of our systems that can do that stuff. Can the Whopper that can mindlessly find the launch codes and stuff. That scares me, But again, I'm an optimist. Trust me, I'm an optimist. But I think that things have to be shaped. I do believe in the value of some people saying, let's solve this problem. We had a nuclear bomb, which I think ended the war and saved more lives than it killed, because of Alfred E. Loomis, a guy who history has completely forgot, got together the smartest people in the country and said, let's solve these problems, because if war happens, they're going to want to build this bomb, and we need to have these problems and these equations done now. And they did that. And people talk about, we need a Manhattan Project. They don't know where that started. It's like, we need that was the debate topic. We need a Manhattan Project for crypto. Like, no, we have really good cryptography.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess the only thing about this idea of a preventative measure of trying to solve the riddle of doing battle with robots before it ever happens, it's just my only hesitation, because in principle, I think it's a really good idea. It's just that, humanity has demonstrated a very long-standing, virtually unbroken record of being really bad at predicting everything,
I don't think it's, Brian, I don't think it's like, let's start building our weapons now. I think it's let's understand, like, what are all of our electronic vulnerabilities right now? We don't really necessarily know. How could a human using these advanced technologies wreak havoc? If you had an AI that was really good at breaking through backdoors to security systems, what is the most amount of what's the most damage you could do? And I think that you start looking at that. How do you have best practices? How do you have these things? Because we have incredible technologies that it used to be the ability of you to do damage, Brian, was was limited within the reach of your arms.
Sure. Sure.
Maybe you could start a fire and start a forest fire, but your capabilities, weapons, bow and arrow, projectile weapons, that increased, explosives, and then star killer bases and Death Stars and all this. These expand your reach to do that, and that becomes the first problem: is that these technologies give an tremendous amount of reach for humans. The next phase becomes, and then if these things decide, well, enough with you folks,
So, yeah, I mean, I guess it just, what this board or organization feels like is just, hey, this is a big issue. Let's just have a place where we can tread lightly, right? Like let's just have a place that is a clearinghouse for everybody working on this, that we can all just kind of be on the same page as we take steps, because to have it go too far or to have it fall into the wrong hands is dangerous.
What we had happen a couple weeks ago is there was a committee of scientists met to try to figure out best practices for the CRISPR and related techniques of being able to do individual genetic splicing. Because now we have the ability to go in and replace specific genes on target and then create what's called gene drive, which then means every single descendant in that creature will now have it. So you could create a gene that affects, fruit flies that, makes them less susceptible to some sort of disease or even a pesticide perhaps, and then all of its descendants will have it, and probably within a couple years' time every single fruit fly might have it because of the way evolution works as far as
right, because it won't manifest immediately. It'll manifest and we see this with genetically engineered mosquitoes, right, where it's like they'll go in and they'll want to wipe out mosquitoes in a certain tribe or village, and so the first generation will be perfectly fertile. Everybody will be like, hey, everything's great. And then suddenly complete collapse because the second, third generation manifests the trouble.
Yeah. So rightfully so, a group of people got together to figure out best practices, and they did not say we shouldn't use this technique. And then maybe they were overly restricted, but they said, hey, and these are guidelines for other people working with this technique because there is a potential to really screw up. And we've had that happen with recombinant genetic therapy where there were mistakes made in other aspects of it that killed people. People were killed in research projects, and it just threw a pallor over the entire area of research, which could be saving lives right now because some other people, well-intentioned but perhaps a little bit too eager, acting without really best practices, effed up. We don't want to shut this thing down at all, but the other side is we don't want some disaster happening where then governments come down and say, nope, can't do it, whatever. And that's kind of a fear in AI kind of things, is you might get some scary sort of development and then government comes in and says, no, we're going to shut down research, but China is going to say, good luck, guys, we're going to keep going, not to put it on the Chinese. I love the Chinese.
Trump.
I suppose if we shorten the timeline here, right, and we look more to the next 10 years or so, I totally believe that there will be people trying to create malicious AIs that take stuff down, but I just feel like it will be, there will be a couple of stories here or there like, oh, all of traffic was shut down in, Minneapolis, and this is due to a virus, and this as we move into self-driving cars, we need more firewalls, and so it becomes industry practice that there's more firewalls for all that stuff. I feel like there's two sides to an arm race, is what I'm saying. Is that I feel like yes, there is the threat of, as we trust computers and artificial intelligences with more and more, everything, I feel like the trade-off is that there's going to be an increase of protections and of segmentation and the inability for, for this section of the internet to be automatically accessible to the other.
Yes, somebody has to come up with that stuff. It does not appear out of the vacuum. Somebody has to think of these things.
See, I guess what what I'm saying is I think it does because because the internet is so hyper segmented. It is so, every project is written in a vacuum. We don't go to the Supreme Internet Council to ask permission to start our next project, and we don't all run them on the same computers.
Which is why OpenAI is doing this, is because they're saying we're not going to wait for governor or somebody. We're going to be okay. I keep going back to Tuxedo Park and Alfred E. Loomis. This is a guy that said, hey, you know what? People are kind of laughing at the idea of splitting an atom and making a bomb. We think this is going to be really critical. Now, I could wait until the War Department says, yes, let's go do this. But I'm going to take this on to myself, and I'm going to be the guy that's going to start this. I'm going to bring in the best physicist. I'm going to start the first nuclear pile. I'm going to start this research now, so when the government gets around to realizing, oh, man, we really need this, they can be like, hey, guys, here you go. Here it is, because you did not see this coming. I did, because I hang out with the smartest people in the world. And the smartest people in the world are like, we think this AI thing could be bad. We think we're betting on it being good, but it could be bad. So let's start asking these questions now. So if we start to get scared or whatever, we're there and we're ready to have it happen.
So I think, to put it in the context that I think Brian had before, it's not that this is the Supreme Council on X, right? They are subreddit mods, that just want to be there for rules of the road to be established. So when things get busier, at least there has been some thought put into it before.
They're trying to do active research now. They want to do active research, and they want to explore AI. They want to basically, I think, create a nexus for AI research. I think they want to encourage AI research. They're not trying to stop it. They want to encourage, but also start building best practices and have an idea of what these things do. Because we've seen one of the problems we have in security technology and cybersecurity technology is that you have companies out there that are heavily funded that sell these products as being secure, and we find out that they're ridiculously insecure, and underfunded researchers are trying to point these things out. And we found that now that every government employee, every family member, everybody else that was spoken to when that person was considered being hiring is now public knowledge for foreign powers. They know who these people are. Everybody, CIA, DIA, all these different agencies, that is now public knowledge because of bad security practices, because of they were not funding enough research to figure out where these holes are. There's a new hole in another security system that's been used for tons of government security that we just found open back doors into systems and stuff. We don't know what the other people could know because it was handled by people, the bureaucracy that handled this stuff that now wants to have back doors to all of our communication stuff, mishandled it. And so I think the earlier we get people saying, hey, let's develop this and be conscious of the good practices, I think the better.
Man, I don't dispute the general smarts of that theory. It's just, and maybe it's because I just finished reading that Future Crimes book, and I just found it such a load of hot garbage. It was so much hand-wringing, so much fantasy of like, oh, here's another thing that might be really bad. So much just, waving. I don't know. It was like, here's a woman who was raped, and guess how they found her house? Right. They used Google Maps.
That's a book written by somebody trying to write a sensational book. This is by people who have hundreds of millions of dollars in AI technology, who are in laboratories, who are coming at this. If it was a bunch of senators getting together to do this, I would laugh my ass off. If it was people who had no skin in the game or understanding of it, I would find it hilarious. But when it comes from AI researchers and people who are doing this, it's a very different thing for me.
Do we have examples of times when this kind of program has averted a major crisis or whatever? I know we have tons of programs that we could point to that yielded nothing outside of
World War II. I would say that World War II ended because of a program that was started before with Tuxedo Park and Alfred E. Loomis.
I don't know. This doesn't sound the same at all, because that's a known enemy and a known problem, and it was coming together to solve.
The technology was not a known technology, though.
That's correct. They had to solve technological things in order to get there. But that's different. This is a made-up enemy that yet does not exist. So we have to make up the enemy. We have to make up their objectives. We have to make up what they want, and then we make up how we fight them. I don't know. I do believe that there's a lot to be gained from think tanks. I just think this is too many steps for me to believe this is super helpful.
That's fine. I obviously look at this in a different context than you just put it into. in the 1930s, there was the talk of could the atom was like AI, some people look at it like it was atomic technology. They looked at the research papers and they realized from Einstein's theories that all of a sudden this could be used, could have theoretical implications both for productive but also as a destructive power as a weapon. Some people said, yeah, this could be a weapon. They're like, yeah, in 100 years this could be a weapon. Others be like, no, if you tried to develop this quickly, it could be a weapon, rapidly become a weapon. And that was a debate. Most people did not think that. Their government didn't think that it could rapidly be developed into a weapon. Most scientists did not think that it had the potential to be done that way. It was considered too far off. Loomis, talking to the best physicists in America and the ones coming from Europe, gets them together, and they're like, no, this really could be a weapon. We don't want the Germans getting it first. We don't want this happening. And it turned out the Germans weren't close to having it. It turned out that threat wasn't real. But it did turn out that us having this weapon before as a way to end the war arguably brought the war to an end. But it was a theoretical. I'm not talking about the threat of the Germans, just the threat of that technology. They said, let's try to come up with a solution. I think that most times when people get together, I think you're right, Brian, it doesn't work out. But man, I would rather have a group of people this smart, this invested in the game, saying, no, we're not telling you to shut down AI research. We're saying, let's get really involved, but also be mindful of the pitfalls.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I could see that.
Also, AI stands for artificial intelligence.
On the cutting edge, Justin. There you are.
Hey, listen, guys. I'm trying to bring a lot of context here. There's a lot of people listening that just need to.
To that note, though, so Peter Thiel, who's one of the backers of this, and Peter Thiel, legendary investor, he has his company Banter, which basically his solution. He realized that there's a problem when you have all this. You collect all this data on people, it becomes useless. But if you then apply it to allow Planter tries to create artificial intelligent tools that assist humans, so it's augmented intelligence, another AI. Augmented intelligence is a fascinating thing. That's the version that Brian and I want, is where we have this tremendously powerful technology that only really it doesn't care what it does as long as we apply it and use it for creative things. And that's the beautiful version of the future that we all want. Except for Justin.
But it's interesting.
I want it.
I mean, I guess it's funny because, like, I understand the impulse to fight a robot artificially intelligent takeover, but and that's 100-year problem. But 1,000 years from now, whether it's a violent takeover or whether it's a very peaceful, squeezing out of our dumb, stupid wetware as relevant, I feel like 1,000 years from now, planet Earth looks the same either way. I feel like the robots are in charge.
I care about me and the progeny I have the most genetic relationship to, and my friends. I care about the ones that I share most of my DNA with. That's who I care about. And the ones who I culturally share with. And in the long run, my paleontologist friends laugh at these things. Great. I got to live here now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bearded weirdos.
By the way, I don't know. I missed something. A comment. I don't know if it was about my comment about the development of the nuclear weapon, or whatever, about it being the most messed up thing in the war. I'd say the firebombing of Dresden, as far as what the Allies did, that was the most messed up.
Pretty messed up. Not the internment of Japanese American citizens.
It's not a good thing, but if you want to rank which
no, I'm with you. I just thought we're piling on.
List of American atrocities during World War II. Let's rank them, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Will Wheaton to tell you what number 5 is. Number 5.
Yeah, there was a lot of that's a whole other argument that we'll never get to a point where we'll agree upon. As far as no, this was right, whatever. The historical research would indicate that had we gone to a land war, more people would have been lost. Maybe not, but I buy that argument. I buy that point of view, whatever, and we can all subscribe to our own points of view. And I am glad that we developed the bomb before the Russians did.
All right, let's all subscribe to picks. What do you say?
Star Wars: Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Poop.
So see Star Wars: The Force Awakens. That's my pick too.
And for those of you who didn't know, we did a whole big Star Wars thing and After Things. Download After Things, listen to After Things. We talk about it. I have a totally different pick. It's a movie that just came out. It's called Kylo Ren's Fun Time Silly Party, and it starts out with a hell of a beach bash.
It's a very big beach. You never quite see the ocean, but the
No,
beach is
never
great.
quite. But listen, it is fun in the sand.
Yeah.
All right.
As a matter of fact, this has been a quirky evening of recording. I certainly talk about it in after things, but if you didn't pick up on it, I've got to take care of a 3-year-old because my wife, the only slot she was able to get to see the new Star Wars movie was at 8:30 on a Sunday night, and she's watching it by herself right now.
Hey, do you think it'll win the weekend?
Yeah.
so.
Question is, will I win the draft?
All right. I do have 2 picks real quick. One that I can very much recommend. One that is like kind of just sort of hit me in a very weird spot. The one that I can recommend is Monument Valley, the iOS game.
Oh, I love that game. Oh, it's so wonderful.
Very relaxing. Very interesting. It has this amazing way of making you feel really, really smart, but but never really like making you feel for a puzzle game so dumb that you get frustrated with it.
Yeah.
Very inventive, very fun. It was free when I got it. I don't know if it's still free now.
I think the base game is free, and now they have DLC that you can pay for.
But super fun, and it's just especially for airplane games. It's just absolutely a blast, and I think everybody would very much enjoy it. The other one I watched on the airplane. It's a movie called Kingsman, and I can't tell you that Kingsman is a good movie. I can tell you that it was just like remember that kid when it was growing up that probably his dad, got him a bunch of fireworks, or he had an uncle that got him a bunch of fireworks. They just decided to tie all the fireworks together. And you're like, man, I don't know if this is A, smart, or B, even going to be all that interesting, because it's just going to be one big thing instead of a bunch of individual stuff. And that's kind of how I found myself with Kingsman, where it's not like triple X ridiculous. There's just like constantly all these elements where it's like, okay, is this a soft, subtle parody of spy stuff? And it's like, no, there's a conversation between 2 characters where like literally one character says to the other, I think the modern Bond movies are too serious. I like silly Bond movies. I think we're doing a silly Bond movie right now. And it very much is a love letter to that. It is always kind of going in these weird different directions that I don't know if they work, but I was kind of fascinated by it, and watching it on a plane, I enjoyed the time that I spent with it, although I can't tell you that it's a good movie.
Can we get spoilery on that movie for a second?
I've not seen it. So you can if you like. I don't know.
It's not. I didn't finish the movie. I only saw half of it, so I obviously can't ruin the ending for it.
I actually dropped out because the plane stopped showing me the movie for the 3rd act, so I haven't seen the 3rd act. So we probably either of us can spoil what happens.
So I just want to say that there is one death in there that's treated as an so big, no big deal. In the training.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow. These are horrible, horrible, horrible people, and they don't seem to be really care that much. And now I'm supposed to care about other deaths in here that I don't. And it was just, it deflated everything for me in that. Was just that. And I'm like, even if that, it was like, wow, I can't go in. I have this movie, has no weight to me. There's no weight at all. I don't care about anybody here because the way this person was just dispatched,
And there is another end to that.
Well, I have a theory. Okay, let me explain. And I think that it may be hey, guess what? It's not what you think it is.
Yes.
But the fact that it carried on that way versus Spy did that way the hell better. Spy I loved. Spy was so much more.
Spy was great. Oh, my God. Spy basically totally took any fear of the new Ghostbusters out of
That's one that has Melissa McCarthy in it?
Yeah. So Spy, it was so now it's so in Kingsman. I'm like, I have a feeling it's going to be this but I'm like, yeah, but you're asking me to carry on at this point because you know that most audiences don't care about that. where I do every death matters to me, every real or whatever. And so that frustrated me because there was no weight to the movie. Where Spy, I felt like,
yeah, but I guess those characters just kind of feel like who's the one who directed Kingsman?
Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn, right? It just Kingsman felt like Matthew Vaughn just playing with action figures, where it was just like,
yes,
it didn't. He's like, oh look, I'm the kid. I'm gonna be in training. Oh wait, we need there was no that movie has zero chill. It's just like, oh, do we need a backstory? Then yeah, let's make a really weird kind of violent thing. And then also I was like, oh, are we popcorn fluff? Yeah, well, let's get weirdly political, about the nature of global warming and technology and it just is all over the map, which for what I needed, I enjoyed in the moment.
Hey, I actually do have a pick as well. It's a game that I actually have not played yet, but I've already read all the reviews, and it's a sequel to a game that I loved very, very much, and so I'm just going to believe the hype, and maybe tonight I might even live stream my playthrough of it. One of the best, I'm going to say flat out, the best tower defense game I've ever played in my entire life. Well, I don't know. I take that back. I liked Orcs Must Die a lot, but as pure tower defense, Defense Grid: The Awakening was a blast, and they did a great job of involving fantastic, bizarre story elements with this artificially intelligent narrator that guides you, works with you as you fight this alien invasion. But Defense Grid 2 was crowdfunded earlier this year or late last year, and it's finally out. It's only $14.99 on Steam, and I'm just going to vouch for it. Sight unseen. I'm going to play it myself tonight, but Defense Grid 2 is good.
I used to play, there was a Star Wars tower defense game I used to love, and then they pulled it when the licensing changed and all that. But I prefer tower defense games to first-person shooters because to me I like a little more of that. All right, just lay this down, set this here, figure it out, watch it. Oh, I didn't realize they could get through there. All right.
And what's great about the way Defense Grid does it is, again, you've got some generic alien race coming in, but your interface to everything is this artificially intelligent thing that over the course of the game it comes out that it's the downloaded brain of a general, and at some point he slips up and talks about his son, and he's like, oh, it's not my son at all, is it? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That's forgot myself for a bit, and it's like this existential angst of being a downloaded copy of a human general, surviving as this artificially intelligent thing. And there's this moment he's like,
Brian.
He says, hey, we'll show them, old chap, and then we'll celebrate by, you can have some strawberries and describe them to me. Won't that be wonderful? And it's like, it's that weird sideways thread that made it so engaging and put interesting personality to the game.
I'll throw out another pick, and I wasn't as engaged with it as I'd like to be, and I hope it becomes more compelling, but I will say that technically absolutely brilliant, I think well acted, and that's the sci-fi's The Expanse.
Oh, dude, I hear people talking that up.
I didn't get into the novels. I mean, I picked up the first one, and then the pacing was so slow. But the novels are super. They're one of the biggest successful franchises in science fiction publishing there is right now. Mm-hmm. Amazing success. So my mileage is very different from everybody else's. But I watched the first episode, and it felt to me, when you read a lot of that stuff, it all feels the same to you. You're very used to beltway miners and this sort of stuff and all that. And so that was this feels like a lot of stuff I've read, and I'm not as engaged as I could be, but visually it was amazing to see what you can do on TV now. And I hope it does really well. And I'm glad that people like it. And it makes me excited to think that we might get a Star Wars TV show where the special effects and all that stuff is now.
Yeah, this is the best reviewed sci-fi thing since Battlestar. right?
Oh, dude, don't drop those words. You're gonna get me too excited. I'm gonna get all fired up.
I haven't seen it yet, but I haven't heard people talk about sci-fi in this way since Battlestar. And it seems like this is this one of the first things that since they kind of changed leadership at sci-fi?
Yeah, I mean, it's like this Childhood's End, and you know, part of it is that what happened at Sci-Fi was, you know, they looked at Game of Thrones and the success of Walking Dead and those shows, and they realized that the best genre stuff on TV ain't on the Sci-Fi. You know, and Sci-Fi was known for Sharknado, you know, which was certainly a way to get some attention and some, hey, we're doing something cool and kind of funny, but it was like, yeah, but you guys aren't doing great science fiction, and so they'll still do that. But now they made this big effort to like, no, really, let's get into trying to do great sci-fi. So they you know, greenlit a bunch of stuff. So I've heard very mixed things on Childhood's End, but
no, I'm pumped for The Expanse. Maybe I can con Ashley into watching it with me.
So, gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's been weird.
Yeah, it has.
Oh, side note.
Side note, what?
Oh no, I was gonna like, oh, by the way, we're gonna try to cover the launch tomorrow. But I'm like, nobody will listen to this until after we're done.
Yes, but we will, and we'll talk about it on the Twitter. We'll let everyone know. Hey, I got to put this baby to bed, and then Bryce, if you don't mind, could you possibly set this up for us to record for Brant those two Scam School remix intros?
Oh, remote? Or on here?
Yeah, no. Like we'll need the cards and stuff in there, so that we can record it locally, and then we'll upload them all the source footage, if that's doable. Cool. All right. Love you guys. I'll be back another time. Bye.
Adios, folks.
Laters.
See you later.